Things were just running way too smoothly for the UFC, and that's usually when we get humbled and we get the news that Dan Hooker is out of his fight with Justin Gaethje. So who is going to step in to fight Gaethje? Well, we have three options of guys that have already been very vocal that want to take the fight. But will that actually happen? Will Gaethje stay on UFC 313? We're going to talk about possible matchups, what I want, what I think should happen, and if it is possible. Also, we got Jose Aldo versus Aiemann Zahabi. What are we doing? What are we doing, UFC? I know Aiemann Zahabi is on a nice little win streak, and the fight card is in Canada, and Zahabi's Canadian, but Jose Aldo? Jose Aldo has fought Jonathan Martinez, Mario Batista, and now Aiemann Zahabi since he's come back from retirement. The possibilities of fights for Jose Aldo are so large, and yet the UFC has failed him 3 times now. Unbelievable stuff. We'll talk about that, who Jose Aldo should have fought, and I guess who's going to win the fight, who I think is going to win the fight. We also have some talks about Ilia Topuria fighting a number 1 contender at 155. Disagree on that. He refused to fight Arman Tsarukyan. We'll talk about that, what he should do. And we also have Islam Makhachev making a post on his Instagram story with the caption in Russian, "I have to put out someone." What does that mean? Comes on the day of the news of Dan Hooker pulling out against Justin Gaethje. Maybe Islam is fighting Justin Gaethje. Maybe they rebook Gaethje for another card. We'll see, but let's circle back to the first topic here. We got Dan Hooker out of his fight with Justin Gaethje. Apparently, he broke his hand. He said he still wanted to fight with the broken hand. There's pictures of it out there. I don't have it pulled up, but you can imagine what a broken hand looks like. Dan Hooker has fought through a lot of injuries before, but it seems like they didn't want him going into a 5-round fight with Justin Gaethje with a broken hand, which pretty much makes sense. So the injury bug has hit the pay-per-view cards again. Dan Hooker's out. Justin Gaethje still looking to be on the card. And we have Rafael Fiziev sending a tweet out. We have Renato Moicano sending a tweet out. And we also have Gamrot sending a tweet out. You know, out of these three, I really don't know how Gamrot would be the one getting the nod, because if we went from Justin Gaethje versus Dan Hooker to a Gamrot crotch sniff fest, that would be rough. Let's hope that's not the case. So that leaves us with 2 other options. Moicano stepping in to fight Justin Gaethje. I could see it happening, just considering. I could see the UFC wanting to make it happen, just considering Moicano was just in a title fight. There's a lot of buzz around him, even though he lost. Got a good following. And they want to make, the co-main event a really exciting fight on a pay-per-view. So I could see that playing into the UFC's favor, where they could throw Moicano in there. Moicano is also, 35, 36? So, I mean, he wants to be active. I know that. Do I think it's a great fight for Moicano? I don't know. Because him against elite strikers has not always been, the greatest matchup for him. But I also know that Justin Gaethje's ground game isn't the best. And Justin Gaethje, I said elite striker, but is he an elite striker? He's a dangerous striker. But I wouldn't really say he's an elite striker. He's a guy that gets hit a lot. As I said, his ground game is not the best, and Moicano usually does come in with good game plans. He just took a fight on 24 hours notice against Islam Makhachev, so this will be about a week and a half's notice to face Justin Gaethje. I'm interested to see if they actually do make that matchup, but it'd be tough for Moicano, to be honest. Short camp, Gaethje's fought the best of the best, big power, and the man above him, Rafael Fiziev, did hit his lights out cold, which makes this matchup even more exciting for me. If it was up to me, from a fan perspective, I would want to see the Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fiziev rematch. Because personally, I thought Rafael Fiziev won the fight. I thought he won the first fight, and I don't know how you could ever give a 10-8 to Justin Gaethje or to either guy in that matchup. Yet some judge did. It made no sense to me. I thought Fiziev won round 1, and honestly, I thought he had a good case to win another round. A really, really good case. Very competitive second round. Third round, people forget, but at the start of the third round, Fiziev damn near knocked him out. But all the blood on his face, it kind of got to him, and I think that's probably why the judges gave Gaethje round 3, and I think the 10-8 was in round 3, which makes no sense to me because a 10-8 literally means like the guy was on the brink of getting finished. That just wasn't the case. Like Fiziev was obviously bloodied up, but Fiziev hurt Gaethje bad at the beginning of the third round. I would love to see this rematch. I say book it. I already messaged Fiziev's manager. I said, get him in there, boys. Get him in there. Get him in there against Gaethje. That's a certified banger. The first fight was amazing. I think you got to make this fight. But if we just look at the rankings as well, what could be next for Gaethje? If he's not on this card, if we don't get a short turnaround of an opponent between Gamrot, between Moicano and Fiziev, like, do they rebook him and put him against Islam? Is that a possibility? Could be. Very well could be a possibility. If they just take him off the card, it might be tough to get him on the card against an opponent, but I'm sure they need him on the card in the co-main event slot. So, I mean, who's to say Arman Tsarukyan couldn't jump in there? Come on, no? You kind of got to do the UFC a favor. Arman hasn't said a peep about wanting to fight Justin Gaethje, but, bro, if you want to get back into the title picture, you might want to just take the Gaethje fight. You might want to take it on short notice, roll the dice, you get a win over Justin Gaethje, and then boom. You got one back into the UFC's good graces, and maybe they give you a title shot. Charles Oliveira, probably not going to happen. I don't think Poirier is going to happen either. He's not going to take a short notice fight. He wants to fight in Louisiana. Definitely not doing the Holloway rematch. And, yeah, I mean, it really comes down to Moicano and Fiziev at this point. And if, maybe Arman wants to rise to the occasion and do the UFC a solid. But there's some matchups for him. It's not Gaethje versus Hooker, but it still could be a solid main event. Personally, I would love to see the Fiziev and Gaethje rematch. 5 rounds as well. I think that'd be sick. Don't know where Fiziev is at. I know Fiziev's been training. I know he's been over in Thailand doing his work and wanted to make a comeback. I thought they were going to do the Fiziev Gamrot rematch pretty soon. So I'm sure he's been in camp and not in camp, but like training a bunch. I'm sure he could be able to step in there, but we'll see. Aldo versus Zahabi. Boys, I mentioned it at the intro of the video, but this is disgusting. Disgusting work from the UFC. You have a legend in Jose Aldo, and they have just been giving him the worst matchups. The worst. Like, what are they even trying to do here? Amin Zahabi is like 36. So I guess maybe you give Aldo a guy that's somewhere around his age, but are you trying to build Amin Zahabi? Come on, boys. What are we doing? Zahabi ain't going to, like, rise up into the top 5, into the top 10. Like, at least if you're throwing him against, like, a Mario Batista absolutely fumbled that opportunity because he just fought like an absolute coward. But at least, Batista's a younger guy. You give him up against a Jose Aldo. If he has a good performance, then you build another guy, a young guy. But Zahabi's 37. Why? Why? Who actually cares about Amin Zahabi? Like, nobody. Not a single soul. Jose Aldo should be fighting guys that are legends of the game. Look at the rankings here. Look at the matchups they could make. They could make a Davis and Figueiredo. They could make a Cheeto Vera rematch. They could even do Henry Cejudo. They should have done Henry Cejudo. They should have done Henry Cejudo versus Jose Aldo instead of Song Yadong in the first place. You could even give him a guy outside of the rankings. I know Dominic Cruz is, no longer there, but that was a fight that they could have made to begin with. But now we're getting Amin Zahabi. Amin Zahabi is ranked number 13. I guess it makes sense as far as the rankings go, but the UFC never has cared about the rankings. They never have. Hell, you could even, I know this is a stretch because of where the rankings are, but you could even do Sean O'Malley versus Jose Aldo. And that would be a more respectable opponent for Jose Aldo than Amin Zahabi. It does not make sense to me that this is the way that they have gone with Jose Aldo in his return. I get the Jonathan Martinez matchup, in Brazil. You maybe want to give him a guy that he has a good chance to beat, but, is also somewhat of a tough fight. That makes sense. But then round two, we give him Batista. And then round 3, we give him Amin Zahabi. Unbelievable stuff that the UFC has been pulling on Jose Aldo. I don't know what this guy did to them. I mean, he's always been a pretty active fighter. I guess maybe they didn't like that he retired. I have no idea. Not a single clue what their plan is for Jose Aldo, but this is just unbelievable. As far as who's going to win, man, like, I actually do think it'll be a competitive fight. Like, I think Aldo, I would favor Aldo, but, you know, Zahabi's not a bad striker. It's just, like, Zahabi fought Pedro Munoz, bro. Like, he went from fighting Pedro Munoz. Like, Pedro Munoz is a guy you give to Amin Zahabi. Not a lot of people care about him, but he's a veteran. And if you can beat Pedro Munoz, you can move up into the rankings. But people care about Jose Aldo. People care. There's a soft spot there. It's the guy that fought Conor McGregor. Lost to him. Made Conor McGregor's career. And now he's fighting Amin Zahabi. Disgusting work from the UFC. Absolutely disgusting. Let's move on. So, this came out where Ilia Topuria refused to fight number 1 contender Arman Tsarukyan. Why is this even a question? The notion that Ilia Topuria should have to fight a contender to face Islam Makhachev is blasphemous to me. It makes absolutely no sense. Ilia Topuria just knocked out Volkanovski, the greatest featherweight to ever freaking do it. Just knocked out Max Holloway, the first man to ever knock out Max Holloway. Max Holloway is an absolute legend. Just had the knockout of the year against Justin Gaethje. Up a weight class. Ilia Topuria just KO'd 2 of the best featherweights of all time. He has every right to vacate his belt, wanting to move up a division and get the immediate title shot. The fact that people are like, oh, let's get him against Poirier. Let's get him against Charles. Let's get him against Arman Tsarukyan. What are we talking about, boys? Okay, the only reason this dude moved up is to fight the champion. He's already proved he is the champion at 145, defeating the best 2 featherweights to ever do it in dominant fashion. Like, it wasn't even a fight. Not even a close fight. Knocked them both out. You really think he's going to move up a weight class and fight a number 1 contender? Like, fight in a number 1 contender fight? Let alone against the guy that he has, like, good relationships with? Like, what are we fucking talking about right now? And the man that needs to man the fuck up, Islam Makhachev. Like, dude, you're the guy. You're the lightweight champ. You're the guy that says, doesn't matter who's across from me, doesn't matter who the opponent is. If I'm the best in the world, I'll face anybody. Then fucking accept the Ilia Topuria fight. Why are you so scared about this guy? Why do these Dagestanis do that? Even with Usman Nurmagomedov versus Paul Hughes. Paul Hughes gave him a really close fight, arguably could have won it, but he lost. Usman says Paul Hughes needs to go out and get 2 to 3 more wins before having a rematch with Paul Hughes. What are we talking about? Just because you had a real close competitive fight doesn't mean the guy that you beat doesn't deserve a rematch. You think he needs to go out and build himself again? What are we talking about? You think Ilia Topuria needs to go out and build himself in the lightweight division? No, he's already proven himself at 145. Islam, accept the damn fight. This dude is the toughest test to you, and you know it. There's a reason you're not chomping at the bit. There's a reason you'll accept a fight with Volkanovski on short notice. There's a reason you'll accept a fight with Renato Moicano on short notice. There's a reason you're not jumping at the bit to be fighting Ilia Topuria because he fucking scares you. Okay? Man the fuck up. You said it yourself. Doesn't matter if it's King Kong, you'll accept the fight because you believe you're the best in the world. You're the pound for pound number 1 fighter. And I agree, right now, you're the pound for pound number 1 fighter. If you believe that, accept the fight with Topuria. None of this shit. This makes no sense. Topuria is the fucking champ. He moves up a weight class. He gets to fight whoever the fuck he wants. Okay? Islam Makhachev, Topuria is the fight. None of this shit. Get it out of my face. None of this talk. All this talk about fighting a contender. Fight a Poirier. Fight a Charles Oliveira. That'd be sick. Yeah, it'd be a sick fight, but the dude doesn't need to do that. He doesn't need to do that. He should be fighting Islam Makhachev, not anybody in the rankings right now. Give him the fight. Make it happen. That's the news this week. Oh, my goodness. Aldo disrespected. Hooker's out. Gaethje's fighting somebody else at 30. What is it, 307? That's not 307. 313. 313. Jesus. All right. Like and subscribe. We're out of here. Hey, Job Picks. Till next time, we out.